My energy's low this week. Last week I definitely went into beast mode. SpaceX has launched Starlink's first direct-to-smartphone satellites. This is a technology that the military has been using for a long time, the SAT phone. And the purpose of this technology, according to SpaceX, is not for users to use their satellites all the time for their cell phones. It's just to fill in the gaps throughout the globe, the little dead spots. Because, and this is not from Tesla, this is from me, and it's not my idea, we need to have global, all the time connectivity in order for your programmable currency to work everywhere, so that if you're buying a stick of gum in the middle of the desert, you can still have connectivity to use your digital currency. Consumer Reports found evidence of widespread presence of plastics in food. This upcoming dark moon trines Uranus in Taurus. Zeiss, or however you say it, is bringing their holocam technology to CES 2024. This is a pane of glass that can function as a digital camera. I read something about this technology being patented, I think by Apple, a long time ago, something like 2006. And I read about it in maybe, 2018 or maybe sooner, maybe later. I don't remember, but Apple had patented a technology to make the whole screen a camera. I find this distressing because I like to cover my camera up. I'm not going to be able to escape connectivity or cover up my camera. I'm mentally preparing. I'll get over it. The 2024 astrological calendar is currently being worked into the printer's workflows. So that should ship within the next couple weeks. Pre-order it at voyage.earth. I made it super useful this year. Instead of listing the names of the glyphs and wasting a bunch of space, I listed the degrees and universal timestamps of all lunations, stations, and major aspects. This week, much of the action is front-loaded. Monday morning is sweet with the moon conjoining Venus in Sagittarius, sweet and adventurous. However, we also get the third square. We also get Mercury's third of 3 squares with Neptune. So the first one was Monday, November 27th. The second one was Wednesday, December 27th, and that was with Mars, a little more aggressive, mean, violent, persuasive. And this is the third one. So there's a story there with the Sagittarius part of your chart, voyaging, and the Pisces part of your chart, achieving a coherent understanding of the oneness of all things, and some sort of confusion or conflict between those two areas of life that began around November 27th and is now coming to a close. A mini story arc. Mercury retrogrades all planetary retrogrades give us these miniature story arcs where often a planet will hit another planet, will make some sort of contact with another planet more than once. Tuesday starts out kind of all over the place, but it's a gentle version of kind of all over the place because the moon is pretty energetic and all over the place in Sagittarius, the moon is waning down. The dark moon occurs in Capricorn. So there's not a lot of juice left. We're expending, it's like the end of the year spending that you do to avoid paying more taxes or something. That's this moon in Sagittarius. Expenditure of energy. The sun trines Uranus on Tuesday, which is exciting. That might also express itself on Monday. Sun trining Uranus has a signature of discovery, epiphany, and any contact with Uranus is going to have an element of surprise, or be rebellious or contrarian. Monday and Tuesday give us an opportunity to imagine what is the supercharged, idealized, innovative versions of ourselves, or of what a ruler could be. It's not that big a deal. I mean, it might be a big deal for you. It depends on your chart, what year you're in. Tuesday evening, the moon moves into Capricorn. It's a little less exciting Tuesday evening. It's more grounded, calm, stone cold. And Mars is trining Jupiter this week. On Tuesday night, the moon moves into Capricorn, Mars sextiles Saturn, and then the moon sextiles Saturn and conjoins Mars, which is technically early Wednesday morning. So on Tuesday evening / late Tuesday night, we get kind of a preview, or we might see the expression of Mars trining Jupiter later in the week, because the moon is the activator of the giant clock that we live in. So Mars sextiles Saturn on Tuesday night. So you could also see a signature of, throughout Tuesday and maybe even Monday, of being able to be patient through a great deal of work you need to do, or do some good strategic planning. Saturn, wherever it is, whatever planet it touches, evokes architecture, which is a version of planning. And Mars in Capricorn, making contact with its ruler, Saturn, is very strategic. So if you have an opportunity to get in your war room, Tuesday night's probably good for that. And Mars trining Jupiter later in the week, which I feel like Tuesday will contain a signature of, is victorious. Jupiter comes in and says yes to things. Mars in Capricorn is at its most powerful because it's able to use its positioning and the establishment to its advantage. And with Pluto still there for now, Mars in Capricorn could also use widespread institutional corruption to its advantage. Tuesday, you also might even want to try to finish something that you might need to finish up this week. Maybe try to finish it on Tuesday, even if it doesn't sound feasible. That might give you a buffer to truly have space to be victorious when Mars trine with Jupiter completes. Mercury has been trining Jupiter over the course of the past couple months because of its retrograde phase. And I was talking about Mercury in Capricorn. How can we plan? What sort of brass tacks can we get down to in order to help Jupiter in the first phase of Taurus express itself, in order to turn what we have into more, in order to create abundance? So the Mars-Jupiter signature is similar, but it has more of it's more hungry like the wolf. Wednesday is the dark moon in Capricorn. It technically occurs Thursday morning, early in the morning, but that makes Wednesday night the waning moon at its darkest. In astrology, we look at lunations, full moons and dark moons, in cycles of ebb and flow, increase and decrease, not just throughout the month, our monthly timeline, but throughout periods of 6 months. The full moon in Capricorn, July 3rd, 2023, about 6 months ago, marked a crescendo that has now expended its energy. About a year ago, the dark moon in Capricorn, it was December 23rd, 2022, so around that time, marks the beginning of a story arc that peaked in July 2023 and has now expended its energy. So now we're at the dark moon in Capricorn. And this coming year, in 2024, there will be 2 full moons in Capricorn. One on June 21st, and that will take place at 1 degree of Capricorn. So there might be some thread of this past winter and the Mercury retrogrades. Mercury stationed retrograde in early Capricorn. And the interior conjunction with the sun occurred at 0 degrees of Capricorn. And another full moon in Capricorn this year, an unusual 2. And a second full moon in Capricorn occurs at 29 degrees on July 21st. So this Capricorn lunation arc will have two opportunities for whatever it's supposed to manifest. The moon is in detriment in Capricorn. Recently, CNN reported that the Navajo Nation publicly objected to landing human remains on the moon. And this resulted in a last-minute White House meeting where they decided it wasn't that big a deal. So there are private companies providing burial services for paying customers. Capricorn is a sign of business, and that's why the moon doesn't do too well there, because although business can result in things that can be good for the moon, business itself is a strange match for what the moon does, nurturing and life-giving. So Celestis, one of the companies that does this, the CEO said, "We are aware of the concerns expressed by Mr. Ngrin," I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, "but do not find them substantive. We reject the assertion that our memorial spaceflight mission desecrates the moon." There are so many traditional cosmologies that regard the moon in the same way that the Navajo Nation is saying that they regard the moon. And there are so many traditions, including mine, including the one that brings you this video, that finds it deeply disturbing that you would put death stuff on the moon. In your dead materialist rationale, the moon is dead. It's just rocks. So who cares? From my perspective, and I'm not the only one, the moon symbolizes life and the body and living bodies. And the moon reflects the light of the sun. And without the light of the sun, the moon would be a cold, dead rock that we couldn't see. So Navajo Nation President Bu Ngrin, in a statement, said, "The suggestion of transforming the moon into a resting place for human remains is deeply disturbing and unacceptable to our people and many other tribal nations." And it's deeply disturbing and unacceptable to me also. But they're going to do it. They're going to do it anyway. It's just business. Who cares? Now the thing that has symbolized life-giving and living bodies for eons will be also a tomb. So that I recently traveled to Mexico, where I had the privilege of viewing the sunstone, which is also known as the Aztec calendar, which is not really a calendar. It's more like a mirror that asks you, upon what unspeakable institutional atrocities is your own experience of prosperity dependent? This dark moon also trines Uranus, so there's likely to be something surprising. Another news item that shows up as relevant on the day I recorded this is an article from this past June arguing that deep sea mining, even though apparently there's a debate over deep sea mining because it has like some terrible environmental impacts, but the business case has always been sound, and this article argues that maybe the business case is not so sound. It's a pretty good Saturn in Pisces, business in the deep sea story on this, our last dark moon with Pluto in Capricorn. Later in the year, Pluto will move permanently into Aquarius. We'll have a period in the middle of this year with Pluto in Capricorn again. But no lunations will involve Pluto in Capricorn. It's like a notch on the timeline of phasing out the overt corruption, redirecting that corruption, embedding it more into like various communities with which you could identify. Like burying it in like good causes. Thursday, the moon just sextiles Neptune and in the morning, so chill morning. Or if you have to have an energetic morning or you're running late, you might be running late on Thursday. But if you can have a chill morning, do that. And in the evening, have a secret meeting behind the bookcase with your cabal of big business executives. For the moon will conjoin Pluto in the last degrees of Capricorn before moving into Aquarius in the evening. So a very detached Thursday evening. On Friday, all I've got for you is Mars trines Jupiter. That happens in the wee hours, so that's also a Thursday thing. Mars is very strategic in Capricorn. Jupiter in Taurus wants to create material abundance. These two signatures work well together right now for achievement unlocked. The moon in Aquarius also squares Jupiter early in the morning on Friday. And on Friday night, the moon sextiles Venus. So that's a fun Friday night of Mars, with Mars exalted, coming off a trine with Jupiter. The moon in Aquarius squaring Jupiter and then sextiling Venus. Feels out of place, but enjoys it and turns that into some sort of adventure. And then in the middle of the night, Saturday morning, the moon squares Uranus. So maybe you go too far, but that's okay. Also on Saturday, we have another shift. Mercury moves back into Capricorn and the moon moves into Pisces. The last time Mercury was in Capricorn was December 1st through December 22nd. And Mercury also had its interior conjunction with the Sun at 0 Capricorn. This week, we revisit a couple things that happened in late December. The Mercury square Neptune on Monday, and Mercury moving back into Capricorn. Maybe you did the math back in December 1st, and it was reassessed over the past few weeks. And now you can move forward with your Mercury plan, knowing what you know now, and you're able to update your architecture, your plans. And on Sunday, we're deep sea mining. It's just business. The moon conjoins Saturn, sextiles Jupiter, and sextiles Mars. So get after it, but in a chill, imaginative Pisces way. That's very practical these days because of Saturn. So Sunday might be somber also, in addition to being chill. That's the vibe for the next couple of years. There's a company called Eighth Wall, which recently joined with Niantic, the creators of Pokemon Go, and they're working to create a quote-unquote real-world metaverse. And this combination of panes of glass, which function as cameras, transparent walls, transparency that is also control and surveillance, and the idea of a real-world metaverse makes me think of are all things evoked by Saturn and Pisces. Building and planning a whole world that, without the correct technology would be a Mercury thing. Building and planning entire worlds that for some are absolutely hidden. Sunday can give you pause about what hidden worlds Saturn and Pisces will bring. Pre-order the calendar. I made 200. 40 of them are the black version, which is a special edition. And like the video, who cares that liking my weird astrology video might affect your social credit score in the future in a way that only some people can see, in a way that you might never even know about. And remember, your Wi-Fi is a camera that can see through walls.